You already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. All right, y'all, we are back in the building with some updated information about Karen. She has fired her lawyers after the guilty verdict and asked to delay the DUI sentencing for rehab. So let's get into the tea. And I got to shout out my boy Shamar for putting me onto this. I was actually preparing for my travel segment on Like It or Not on Fox 5 today at 11:15. So if you are in the DMV area, make sure to tune in and tap in for that. And also make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button, and leave your comments down below with what you think about this story. Also, in doing my own due diligence, make sure you guys are also following me on the Snapchat for a more intimate look into my day-to-day life, as well as the travels. Okay. So let's get into the tea of it all now that we've gotten that housekeeping out of the way. Y'all, this comes to us as an exclusive from In Touch magazine. Okay. So apparently Karen has fired her entire legal team after being found guilty in the DUI case and has asked that her sentencing be postponed to allow her time to finish rehab and talk with her new attorneys. This is what In Touch is telling us. So, in the docs, because there's always some docs that are being obtained. Y'all know that the docs are somehow always being obtained. Karen's request to postpone her January 29th sentencing was indeed granted. So the judge set a new date of February 26th for Karen, who is 61, to find out what the consequences she will face. So let's break that down first of all. So I don't know when Potomac will start filming again. Usually a lot of times they wait at least. I know I've heard that filming for Salt Lake City will begin at the end of February. So I would assume that since the reunion will probably be airing, the reunion will be airing in February. So I would assume that they would probably resume filming again in April. So this gives us plenty of time to find out what exactly that verdict will be and for them to figure out what they're going to do in terms of filming. There is a lot of talk of, whether or not the Grand Dame is actually returning to the Real Housewives of Potomac. I've seen a lot of posts out there. I've seen a lot of talk and conjecture. I just haven't seen anything official come from Karen's camp or from Bravo. So I'm kind of waiting around to see what that means, because I would assume that if she wants to come back to the show, they would allow her to come back and continue to tell her story. But I also think that a lot of this is going to depend on what that verdict is going to be. Okay. Now, is it a good sign that the judge has allowed her that extra bit of time to work with these new attorneys? Yes, because I also think that people are wondering what in the world were the attorneys thinking in allowing her to do this season with the idea that she would be vindicated when those videos existed. Had the attorneys not seen the video footage? Did Karen nor Ray recall everything that transpired during the time period where Ray actually entered the scene? So and maybe a lot of that footage that we did see, it did have Karen by herself, or with the attending officers. So it's really questionable as to whether or not what they knew or what she could remember, to be quite honest with you. Or maybe what the legal team was telling her. We really just don't know. All we do know is that legal team is no longer working with her and she has a new team. So let's get into that. Now, of course, we remember that she was found guilty of driving under the influence, negligent driving, and failure to control speed to avoid collision. And then the charge of reckless driving was dismissed, just FYI. Now, she was accused of striking a median while driving her 2017 Maserati and then hitting a street sign before slamming into a tree. She was arrested due to the police believing she was under the influencers. Now, the prosecutors have charged Karen with, of course, the DUI, negligently driving a vehicle in a careless and imprudent manner, endangering property, life, and person, and various other counts. We all know that. So, in the motion filed on January 9th, and it's interesting that this happened on January the 9th because we haven't found out about this until today. And the sentencing was supposed to be tomorrow, right? So this was done back in early January, likely around the time that she entered the uh, recovery program. So I wonder if the new attorneys are the ones who convinced her to enter the recovery program. The new team explained that Karen had discharged her previous attorneys and hired them. They said Ms. Huger is seeking to have the benefit of counsel's 30 years of experience handling cases of this kind in the Maryland courts and in fashioning recommendations that state and court may find acceptable to address the community's interests in accountability, rehabilitation, supervision, and deterrence. That's what the motion reads. Now, the new attorneys also said that they last spoke to Karen as she entered an out of state program that is appropriate for this case. They have received no permission from Karen to disclose the nature of the program. This is what they said, and this is what the motion reads. The rules of the program severely limit counsel's ability to communicate with Ms. Huger and prepare for sentencing. Karen will be returning from that program on January 28th, which is today. So Karen, as of today, Karen will be out of that program. And it just so happens that this is the day before the previously scheduled sentencing. So a lot of this seems like very smart plays in terms of what the new attorneys are doing. Karen's new team has said that they need time to get fully informed about the quote nature of the case, the procedural history, the evidence that was presented at trial, and the client's personal and professional history. An additional time would allow counsel to provide the court with a meaningful and useful memorandum. So they actually asked for an extension until February 14th to file a memorandum regarding the kind of sentence Karen believes she deserves. Um, it we know that Karen apparently, well, In Touch has reported that months before the trial, Karen did attempt to block the body cam footage and statements she made to police from being used as evidence in court. So she clearly did see this. She clearly did see the body cam footage. Now, that would have come into direct conflict with what she told the girls on The Real Housewives of Potomac about her being vindicated. Karen had claimed, according to In Touch, that an officer grabbed her arm after she was checked out by emergency officials. Karen claimed the officer told her she could not leave and started to interrogate her. Then she claimed that she was never read her Miranda rights. Then, as a result, she said her argument was basically that any video of her answering questions to police and any statements she made were part of an illegal interrogation and should not be used as evidence. But the prosecutors opposed her request and denied Karen was subjected to an illegal interrogation. So if that is the case, then that explains to us why Karen feels like she will be vindicated, because according to the argument, she believed that she was never read her Miranda rights. So the prosecutors responded and said, well, Karen's statements made during this time were free and voluntary and were stated out loud while in the presence of police officers. The judge then shut down Karen's request and sided with the prosecutors, and that is when the footage of Karen's arrest was released. This is a lot of information, y'all. So this is definitely Law and Order 101. So we learned in January, I cannot recall the exact date, and they don't put it here, but I would assume it was around the time that she switched attorneys. Karen's rep, Ryan Tresdale, said Karen had entered a recovery program and would not be attending the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion taping. We all remember that. They said that she was fully supported, you know, and so her attorney released a statement stating that they were disappointed by that guilty verdict. Now, she said the attorney also said, not she, but the Mr. Bolden said, although we are disappointed in the jury's verdict, we of course respect their decision and appreciate the time hearing our case. Now, that was, I believe, the initial attorney. But now that she has these new attorneys, and now that we've kind of explored the full breadth of the issue, do you think that Karen and getting this delayed sentencing will benefit her? Well, do you think it will ultimately benefit her? And, you know, I would also relatively assume that it would probably be safe for Karen, safer for Karen to remain out of the public eye for the next month or so. That's what I would think. So it'll be a little bit of more time before we find out what that sentencing will be. And interestingly enough, it will likely be during the time that the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion will be airing. So I do believe that there will be quite a few explosions in terms of news in around and during that period of time. So we'll of course keep watch, and we'll keep Karen and her family in our prayers. Hopefully at this point, now she is just is in a better mental space, and will be making some different decisions from this point out. Let me know if you guys think that she should return to the Real Housewives of Potomac or not. And this is basically, I'm asking not in terms of what the network should allow, but do you think that she should take some time off for herself? And I guess again, that will depend on what the sentencing will actually be. So let us know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. And of course, with that being said, we will also see you in the next video. And be sure, if you are in the DMV area, tune in to Like It or Not at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will be getting into what National Plan for Travel Day is all about. All right, because that is what today is. So with that being said, be sure to keep it locked down into the description of this video, where we do have group trips to Cape Town. Again, I will be announcing the new dates on on Like It or Not, as well as the dates for Zanzibar. And of course, you guys can always tap into Rich Life if you are looking for travel deals, as well as ways to earn income every day. Okay. Um, and we have our weekly Zoom meetings at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. So you can always tune in to that if you are tapped into the Rich Life texting group. All right. So with that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.